And hello. I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to the latest broadcast. This is Friday, May 31st, 2019. And this is actually the first of the Where We Go One, We Go All.love Frontlines episodes. I announced yesterday we're going to do a little bit of a change. We're going to kind of break up the Dank Live and from the other parts of things that we've been discussing, and move it. Today it'll be at 10:30, which is the time that Tank normally is joining in anyway. This makes it a little bit easier to explain what is what's going on. Let me rephrase that. This makes it a little bit easier for me to know when Tank is going to join in, so I can plan better to express information to you without kind of saying, okay, well, what are we going to do now? Right? Because, half an hour, back and forth is a little difficult. So it's going to be set for 10:30. Now, we may end up doing some earlier in the day. We'll play around, but probably for a while, we'll try at 10:30, see if that's working, because that's kind of when things have been happening with. Sometimes he jumps on in at 10. So, and we'll schedule it now at that time. We'll also make this much shorter. So, maybe Tank and I will be on Dank Live for 30 minutes or maybe 90 minutes. It just depends. And then the other topics and the Where We Go One, We Go All.love. Please join and register there. I'm going to start feeding these episodes that I'm working on today into the site, and then we can discuss them from there as the front lines in the battle against the cabal. And to start as a front line here, we're going to address the Bilderberg group. This is the topic for today. So, and the reason that we're going to discuss it is because of some particular people that are visiting, because it is actually happening right now. Just a very quick recap. Bilderberg Group is a secretive organization of leaders from around the world, leaders in government and corporate and finance, that get together to decide how they're going to rule the world. And that's really how this has come about. It started because of the way the story goes. This happened basically I believe in the 50s. I'm not exactly sure about the exact timing, but maybe even earlier. Maybe it might have been in the 30s or 40s. I'm not exactly sure. But there was a reporter who, as a lot of times when you're a reporter working for the press, you are not full-time and you need to make other money. This particular reporter decided, he was going to be a waiter. He happened to be a waiter at the Bilderberg Hotel. And when there was an event that happened there, he found it amazing that everyone around there was discussing how they're going to control the world. In this particular one, it was about introducing communism into Russia. And basically, it was about really getting rid of the Tsar and putting communism in there as a means to control the population there as an experiment. What are their other experiments? Well, the EU is an experiment. But anyway, this is how it came about being called the Bilderberg Group, just because when the reporter who took notes while he was waiting and serving them and just listening, oh, wow, that's interesting, I'll write that down. He ended up calling it the Bilderberg Group because they were at the Bilderberg Hotel. They are nameless, a nameless organization. So let's get to exactly why we're talking about that today. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna bring up a screen. 1 second. So here we go. So Pompeo and Kushner head to Bilderberg meeting, a mysterious gathering of global elite. Now, this is basically from May 30th, and it was an article by Adam Taylor. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo headed to Europe on Thursday as a part of another bid to build support for the U.S. government's pressure campaign against Iran. But there's one stop en route that is sure to interest those that are not more conspiratorial-minded. Pompeo's side trip to the secretive Bilderberg meeting. The State Department said that Pompeo is planning a brief stop by the elite event held this year in, I don't know how to say that, Montreux. At some point during the 3-day stay in Switzerland. He is not the only senior U.S. Official visiting either. Jared Kushner, President Trump's senior advisor and son-in-law, is listed as an attendee on the meeting's website. The involvement of key Trump administration members may spark criticism from those who view meetings as nefarious gatherings of global elite. Conspiracy theorists, including a member who have publicly supported Trump, have picketed the event in recent years. For example, Alex Jones, an American radio host who interviewed Trump when he was a presidential candidate in 2015, he claimed that Google's planned and launched Arab Spring at one such Bilderberg gathering. There's more. There are powerful corporate groups above government manipulating things, Jones said in 2013 in Britain, where he was filmed standing outside the site of that year's Bilderberg event. People who have attended the meeting say that there is a little to these theories, and it's just a forum for honest and open debate. However, Bilderberg's long history of unusual levels of secrecy and A-list guests certainly make it an unusual event. How did the meeting begin? Events in 1954, so it's in the 50s. A small group of powerful Europeans met in a group of an influential North America to discuss the future of transatlantic liberal alliance. The event convened under the leadership of Prince Bernhard of Netherlands and was held in Bilderberg Hotel in Obersk. I don't know how to say those. Obersbeek. Okay. The meeting has since occurred almost every other year in locations as far west as Lake Lingonier, Georgia, as far east as Istanbul. The only year meeting wasn't held was in 1976 when it was canceled as Bernard was embroiled in a scandal over accusations that he took a bribe from U.S. Aircraft manufacturer Lockheed. Okay, so let's see. All right. Anyway, so this article you might want to go in and read is at the Washington Post. A few other things just pointing out. Jared Kushner being so key to Trump, right? Because he, he is been looked at as an interesting force in the Trump White House. And now people are going to look at this information from two points of view. The way I see it, you're going to look at it from either fear, or you're going to look at it from abundance. So if you're in a fearful mindset, you're going to say that you're going to latch onto all the conspiracy. This means that Trump is a bad guy. He's part of the Bilderberg group. Just as a note, he was not allowed to go to the Bilderberg group. Even they didn't want him there. So that's a little side note. But you start thinking of the fearful, well, they're going to basically try and make a deal with the deep state. From the abundance point of view, let's say that this group nefarious side that is broadened. It's now public. It used to be secret. It's now known when it's going to happen, but usually a week ahead. This actually was only 8 hours. So they've reduced their timing so that press can't gather and come in and interrupt them, right? So or have the alternative media show up with picket signs, So they've been outed, and so now they have to present themselves in the world. So this is one of the things to consider is, as a front in the battle, there are places where you need to basically make your statement. And so maybe Jared Kushner is there for the reason of representing this is what's going to happen from Trump's point of view. Mike Pompeo being there at the same time and say, listen, you guys had your run. You said you were going to be doing it this way, New World Order and everything. You can keep fighting us, or you guys can flip. You guys can see that there's a much better way to go about this. The one world order idea and basically making one world of tyranny and all the rest of the garbage that went along with that. Not such a good idea. Maybe you guys should reevaluate. What do you think? I think maybe that might be a much better take on what's happening. We're not going to know. I don't think that Alex Jones has slipped in and gave him less notice. Right. But there is a nefarious side to this group, no doubt. When Alex Jones went in with this reporter, they coordinated an effort. I think it was in 2001. Actually, I do have something queued up over here that'll actually go through. This is just I think it's a 15. That's can't see the name right now, but I think it's like 15 points you didn't know about the Bilderberg group. We'll go through that. But the one that they infiltrated was in another group, the Bohemian Grove Club. It's always called a club. The Bohemian Grove group had the meeting for the Bilderberg group there. So obviously there's an overlap of membership between the Bohemian Grove and the Bilderberg group. So that's when Alex Jones had the infiltration take place, and they were able to see that this ceremony took place with them worshiping Baal. And that is something to. So anyway, let's why don't we go through this right now, and we'll get a little bit more background on the Bilderberg. There's two videos that we're going to go through, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, by the way, I did publish the Hangout link in the Where We Go All.love Telegram group. Please, if you'd like to discuss this, you're welcome to join on. please, when you come on, mute yourself in the beginning if we're in the middle of a video or something like that, so that your background noise doesn't overwhelm what's being talked about. Okay, there we go.
De la Croix Castries. French businessman Henri de la Croix Castries is from a military family and now the CEO of multinational insurance firm AXA. He took over from the previous Belgian chairman who died in 2011. Previous chairmen have all been significant members of their country's parliament or had significant business interests. The very first chairman was Prince Consort of the Netherlands and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Netherlands. So it's clear that you need to be a serious big hitter if you want to chair the Bilderberg meetings. Number 2. The Bilderberg Group released the agenda for their meetings, but that's about it. The group follows the Chatham House rule, meaning that the information discussed can be mentioned outside of the meeting, but not the speaker.
So we'll actually bring up the current list so we can discuss this as we go. Set that up. And share my screen. Now, this is actually on Infowars.com. I found it other places, but it was convenient to put this up. So here's the key topics. A stable strategic order. What does that sound like to you? New World Order version 2, because the last version has now been disrupted by Trump, right? And the rise of nationalism, right? Nationalism is going to be spreading more and more. It's going to, because people want to support their country. We don't want a one world dictatorship. Duh. Okay, what's next for Europe? Well, that's interesting, right? As we got, down here is another topic is Brexit, but what's next for Europe? Because that's going to really mean, the dismantling of the EU. It's going to fail. England is out. They have already left spiritually. The mechanics, is being resisted by the deep state. All right, China and Russia. Okay, that's other topics, right? Can't I guess avoid talking about that situation and the future of capitalism. How about real capitalism? How about when we actually don't have a level playing field, the rules are explained, and people are able to compete in friendly competition with one another, without it being rigged for a certain group? Or, too big to fail, socialism for big companies. Now, this is what we have right now. Okay, the ethics of artificial intelligence. Well, there's a topic and a half. So this is an interesting group to speak about ethics. But you have to understand that there is what ethics means in morals. Groups, independently of every other group, have their own ethics. It's very important to understand. And morals. So we consider, morals and ethics as global, right? That we have this idea that it is one thing. But it actually is very specific to the groups within what they're in. And we could go into some examples, but without getting into that right now. So when we're talking about artificial intelligence, what are the groups right now involved in AI? Well, there is a very small commercial realm of this, but let's look at where it actually has taken root and there's actually things are going on. Military AI. military AI in order to basically handle things that and do predictive algorithms to show what things are going. I'll give you an example of a very beneficial place where it was used. You may remember some decades back that there was a very bad situation of nuclear war brewing between India and Pakistan. They were really on the verge of starting a nuclear blast, meaning that they both have nuclear weapons. They were both upset with each other, and they were trying to figure out how they were going to basically, wipe the other one out. India was, willing to accept casualties and everything else of the number of people that would have been initially destroyed because, hey, they got 1 billion people, right? And they were really thinking that it was okay if some of them were to perish in a nuclear exchange. But believe it or not, Cheney was the one that arrived there with some analytics, predictive analytics that came about through a rudimentary AI, where they actually used predictive programming to show what would happen. It wasn't really the initial explosions that killed off people that was the issue, that persuaded both of them not to do it. What it actually showed was that both countries would be absolutely wiped out. And because of this analytics that came from this predictive system, which was a rudimentary AI. Remember, AI, what we know of AI in the public realm is 30 to 50 years behind in the military. So even if we go back 20 years, right, they had quite an AI already in play. And I do know about some particular specifics I won't get into about what that looked like, but that AI was there. Now, is it ethical to use AI to show the countries that they were going to basically be both annihilated, even with a small exchange of nuclear weapons? Sure, it's wonderful to have that, right? Well, let's look at AI being used by the social media tech giants, where we have to monitor the words we say when we're doing a video broadcast or saying something into our people back and forth that we actually, though we think that we're just out speaking to the world and everyone can hear us, we do not know that we've been muzzled. It's like continuing to talk in front and continue to put out information, but nobody hears, or it's been muted to some extent, and they increase that over time to where you're literally drowned out. So is that ethical? No, it's not. So there is a lot of things to be discussed about this, but it's interesting that they're covering it. And by the way, weaponization of social media. Now, if there's a Bilderberg group, I guess it's like, well, how do they use it to how do they weaponize it to drown out the voices that are against the Bilderberg group? We can say that's what's going on. The importance of space. Well, gee, maybe Kushner and Pompeo are there to discuss Space Force and what else is going on out there in space that is outside the public view. And cyber threats. Again, technology driven. A lot of this we're looking at this is technology driven. So, all right. Well, that's I think is a very good thing. We'll continue from where we left off here, back to our 15 points about the Bilderberg group. The 15 things you didn't know about the Bilderberg group.
Agendas are always published on their website, but contain such huge, broad topics, it's very hard to glean any information from it. The 2016 meeting in Dresden involved the discussion of Russia, cybersecurity, and current events, all very large topics for just a weekend. Number 3. British journalist John Ronson entered the Bilderberg group and filmed their activity in 2001. As a part of a documentary series, British journalist John Ronson enlisted the help of prolific American radio host Alex Jones to infiltrate the famous global elite at the retreat in Bohemian Grove, California, which has a guest list that overlaps with the Bilderberg group. When he filmed it, he found a bizarre staged cult ceremony involving the wearing of robes and the burning of a giant owl effigy. As sinister as it looked, Ronson went on to describe it as ultimately harmless, just like any extravagant school play. Number 4. A British political delegate was turned away for not wearing his ID badge. Security is taken extremely seriously at the Bilderberg Group conference, and the surrounding town of Choice is put into lockdown by local police, and journalists have been arrested for trying to infiltrate it. British politician Ed Balls found himself turned away from the 2016 conference too when he couldn't find his ID, and security refused to accept his passport. Alex Jones's InfoWars caught the whole thing on camera, much to Balls' embarrassment. Number 5. When the 2013 conference was hosted near London, the delegates were met with protesters. There were roadblocks and blacked-out windows, but that didn't stop a group of protesters from gathering outside the Grove Hotel in Hertfordshire, when 140 Bilderberg delegates visited in 2013. Police were patrolling the grounds, so the protesters kept their distance throughout the 4-day event, but their signs and placards were certainly vocal. Number 6. The Bilderberg group did not want Donald Trump to win the presidential election. Hillary Clinton herself has never been a Bilderberg delegate, but her husband and many of her advisors have. In 2015, the U.S. election was one of the topics listed on their famous agenda, and it's believed that the group were heavily behind Clinton to win the election. Many of her and Barack Obama's inner circles were in attendance, as well as Democratic Party donors. Even many of the Republicans on the guest list are famous for disliking the new president. Number 7. The group is cited as the way presidents and prime ministers are chosen. Bill Clinton first attended the conference in 1991 and became the U.S. president just a year later. Tony Blair was also fairly insignificant in his own political party when he was invited in 1993. By 1997, his election was being celebrated in the UK. Every year, the delegates include a few political figures who may not be well known now, but they're about to become very famous indeed. Number 8. One theory claims that the group planned to increase oil prices in 1973. According to InfoWars, who love a good Bilderberg conspiracy theory, Bilderberg have a serious say in international oil prices. Many of the delegates represent major oil companies such as Shell and BP, so it's an easy assumption to make. According to leaked minutes at the meeting, though the group have insisted they don't take in minutes, the group discussed increasing oil prices by 400% to manage the incoming increase in oil dollars. Number 9. In 1955, the group wanted to merge the United States, Canada.
All right, so let's stop just for a moment about the oil prices. This, what was said there was that they needed to manage the influx of dollars, right? So they were going to be printing more dollars. They needed to have more oil. Because remember, it's a petrodollar. So this is, this is how, they are making their decisions to make things happen and how it ends up affecting the world. How much does that hurt every individual out there, right? And that's why this type of group, meeting in secret and doing these things, harming people regardless of, of what's happened in people's lives and things like that. To have this happen to them because these secret meetings take place actually is why the people are upset. And when they started going out and doing 5 years ago, started finding the locations and showing up and protesting, this is what's caused the actual shift in the Bilderberg group. They can't hide anymore. So now they're being out front in public in a way, still secretive, but at least they're managing it in a way, and they have a website, and here's our agenda. It's not so bad, right, for us to get together and talk about these things, kind of as a way to handle it.
Canada and Mexico. Leaked transcripts have shown that the Bilderbergs have openly discussed how they could influence the merging of the United States, Canada, and Mexico to create a North American Union. The group are pro-America and pro-Europe, so anything that combines them or brings them together is greatly encouraged, and they're particularly keen on the euro. Want to know about another extremely powerful group? Check out our video about the Rothschilds. Number 10. David Rockefeller has openly admitted that he is a part of a secret cabal. The famous John D. Rockefeller's grandson was 101 years old and the first billionaire in the world to live for a whole century. He, of course, continued to run the various lucrative family businesses, and this has ensured his place around the Bilderberg Group meeting table. Unlike many other members who have been a bit more guarded and secretive, Rockefeller was asked if he was a part of a secret New World Order and responded with, "If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it." Number 11. The Bilderberg's former chairman has categorically denied that the group is anything sinister. Former chairman Viscount d'Avignon, who sounds like a bit of a Bond villain, went on the record in 2005 to say that if we were a secret government of the world, we should be bloody ashamed of ourselves. The Viscount was also quick to deny that the group talent spots future political leaders, saying that if they go places, it's not because of Bilderberg, it's because of themselves. Regardless of what he or any other chairman says, Bilderberg will always have its very vocal critics. Number 12. Bilderberg attacker Alex Jones was once detained at Ottawa Airport prior to a Bilderberg meeting. The Bilderberg's most famous adversary and critic, Alex Jones, has tried to film at and disrupt most meetings for the last 10 years. When he arrived in Ottawa for the 2006 conference, though, he found himself detained by airport security and was only released after 4 hours, with just one change of clothes. The rest of his luggage and recording equipment seized. It could, of course, have been completely unrelated to the Bilderberg conference, but it added a lot of fuel to Jones's fire. Number 13. Group members are greeted at the airport by limo drivers holding a simple B sign. Henry Kissinger, Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, and the world's richest CEOs are greeted with a very subtle welcoming party when they arrive at the airport for their conference. In 2006, the drivers sent to pick up delegates at the airport held discreet and simple B signs to welcome them. Reporters at the scene supposedly got photos of the signs, but all traces seem to have been wiped from the internet. Number 14. Apparently, the group broke Margaret Thatcher's career. Politicians who get on well with the Bilderberg group are rumored to be the leaders of tomorrow, and one famous prime minister made an extra special impression. Margaret Thatcher is reported to have attended the 1975 Bilderberg conference and launched into a 3-minute Thatcher special. After listening to all the discussion in silence for 2 days, the American delegates fell in love with her, according to former Bilderberg organizer Dennis Huey. Number 15. A journalist resigned from the Washington Post specifically to investigate the Bilderberg group. Once a sports reporter for the Washington Post, Jim Tucker was so fascinated by the famous group that he resigned from his full-time job in 1975 to put all of his energy into investigating them. He went on to write Jim Tucker's Bilderberg Diaries and broke numerous stories exposing Bilderberg attendees. His story of Thatcher's involvement differs greatly from Dennis Healy's account, claiming that she didn't like the one meeting she attended and was replaced on the guest list a year after.
All right. Well, those are the 15 things. It is somewhat interesting. But there's more that we can cover here. That is really going back to more of what has happened in the past. And I'm going to put up a video. It's a documentary about that. We're going to just go through about maybe about 5 minutes of it. But it's the beginning of it is I think is very telling about the sinister side, right? So let me go ahead and I'll cue that up right now. I lost it. I have a tendency to see those things happen. I think sometimes YouTube just goes ahead and changes the page. Another conspiracy. Well, I think it's just kind of one of their habits of the things that they end up doing. And it doesn't show in my history. That's that's a telltale sign whenever that happens. Okay. Well, let's do it this way. Let's see if it shows up this way. I have another. This one.
We are endowed by our Creator with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which nobody, no person, no group, no political party, not even our government, can take away from us.
Hitler had agreed that his big business should dominate the world. He called history the new order.
We've already amended the Constitution dozens of times. Let's throw it away for a master plan run by a master state.
Morgan is the largest group. Then there is the strong Globe group, the Mellon interest, which has Westinghouse, DuPont with General Motors, and then there is Rockefeller and 3 other groups, making up a grand total of some $82 billion asset in 1945. 8 groups control the American economy, not only because of their concentration of wealth, but through their strategic ownership of basic industries. In spite of war, these companies operate internationally through subsidiaries, stock participation, and cartel agreements with various other companies.
Have you ever heard of the Bilderberg Group?
No, never.
Have you ever heard of the Bilderberg Group?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't heard of that. I don't know too much about that Bilderberg thing.
Have you guys ever heard about a group called the Bilderberg Group?
No.
Yeah, for the most part.
I have not.
It sounds kind of familiar, but I couldn't tell you what it was.
I just that beginning of it is very good. So that's a Bilderberg Group documentary 2012. So that might be something you might want to look into. Just to really, I want to show the beginning of that. Really talking about this, that as I said, the sinister side. It was, it starts with talking about our rights, right, that are in the Constitution, outlined in the Constitution, that cannot be taken away by any group. So you saw one in the previous information that they were trying to talk. They talked about a conspiracy that came out of the Bilderberg Group to make a North American Union in the 1950s. So did they proceed to do that? Yes, they did. Did it happen? Not exactly. NAFTA, for example, was a part of that. And this is why Trump has been dismantling this, because it was really robbing the Americans of manufacturing. And without manufacturing, you can't actually stand as a nation. If you're relying upon everyone outside of you, you're not independent. right? So this was part of the way to, they needed to get rid of the Constitution, the American form of government, the ideals of America, that all men are created equal, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And this is a problem if you want to control the world. It's all about that small group control. You know what? If there was a way of controlling the world, right, in a way that was benevolent, we could talk about that, right? I don't think it's possible in the way we are as been held back, been put in a state of fear, that we can even think about that right now. Would it be good to have the Earth government, and the people of the Earth all consider ourselves as one? Yeah. Can we still have separate culture, separate customs? Sure, we should be able to have that. This is adds to who we are. Doesn't subtract. So when we look at what the Bilderberg Group is, it is a front in the war. We see what they've been doing, and they are part of the cabal that needs to be removed. That structure needs to be removed. Now, removed from power, we don't have to go in and stop the meetings from happening. Trying to stop meetings from happening is stupid. But if we have the understanding of bringing it out in the open and what they've been doing in the past, we can look at what they're going to try to do in the future, and we can be responsible for ourselves and make sure that the people that we're going to send as representatives to governments are going to not go along with the agenda that they have. That's really the way that we need to proceed in creating abundance for everybody. So one of their main tools is the financial side, and this is one of the reasons why I've been so focused on the financial side, coming up with models of abundance that are looking at how do we do something, right? As I've spoken before about the Kringle coin and Kringle society, on how the idea of eliminating poverty was to create a medium of exchange based upon the value coming from the members. This is a very wonderful concept, and it is unfolding, and it takes time to build an economy. But it's nothing like the market-based coins. And cryptocurrency in general is just a technology. It's actually, the technology is called blockchain. It's a way of storing information and a way of conducting transactions that are private. From that standpoint, it's a wonderful tool. But how do we use those tools? There's another front that we need to take on. So if we're going to look at how do we move past the Bilderberg Group, we have to be able to build our own groups. Build our own groups instead of the Bilderberg Group. Build our own groups. The Builderons. How about that? We'll have the Builderon Group. So where we actually look at bringing the people together, discuss how we create an open architecture environment for people to function in and know all the rules of the game. Nothing hidden, nothing can be done. And a financial backbone that has nothing to do with the secret agendas. Some of those things that we have to change that will eliminate their control and put it into the hands of the governments and not in the hands of the small group would be to eliminate interest, to eliminate income tax, to eliminate the restrictive lending practices, right? So, and we have a good guide by saying, number one, we know what the banks are supposed to do, but they don't. If it functioned the way it was presented, there'd be abundance everywhere on the planet. But this doesn't allow them to be in control. They are in control because they pull away from us all of our ability to function with our time. If we spend 100% of our time trying to stay above water, how can we then act to build? We can't. That's why we have to actually make a new push towards getting something that is a little bit more that we can handle. So anyway, that is I think one of the main reasons why we have to look at building this. Now I'm ready to take the next steps. I'm continuing to work with Kringle Society, Abundance Mind. We're proceeding with that, and the initial monies that have to come together. Found a new power system that will be tying into this as well. Again, it's an energy type system. Abundance Mind is actually mining Bitcoin without having to buy electricity. So we build that into the system, so that way, literally, the wealth is built. And this is the time Bitcoin is making its rise. It's going to go to 30,000, 50,000, 100,000. And 2 years after that, it'll be 1 million a coin. So let's get rolling with mining. So all of these pushes that we're going to make, we're going to outline these on the Where We Go One We Go All.love website, and we are going to use this as a way of helping people understand where they fit and how they can help on these parts. Everyone has a different interest. I'm trying to cover different topics, like Bilderberg Group. This is a particular front that we have to recognize what they are, who they are, what they've been doing, and how we actually can react against what they're doing in a positive way to create the abundance space for it. Well, I see no one has decided to join in. The link was posted. I will actually take a quick look to see if we have any kind of questions that are coming on. Let's see. I'm just looking for the questions. I'll go ahead and I'll share the link along the way, so you can see what I'm looking at. All right, start with this. First one in the room today was Joseph Lambert. Hello, Joseph. I came in a little after. I said, hello, thanks for joining. So let's go through, see if there's any questions. Diana says, I was going to ask you to cover that last night. Well, I'm glad I was able to be in sync with you there, Diana. Yes, the Bilderberg Group is an interesting topic, for sure. Got a lot to cover there. Okay, TQ, we're popping up. Why frozen, not here? I don't know what that means. Anyway, what is TQ? Yeah, so they're listening to the Truth, Honor, Integrity show. All right, well, that also going. Hey, just as a side note, I just listened to Thomas Williams From Russia with Love. I think it was part 4. Fantastic. So I encourage everyone to go and listen to that. That's okay. Scrolling. Do people really think elements of the dark forces will accept their ultimate defeat in the hands raised? Such as must be an illusion. No, I do not think that they will ever accept it. But that's why we have to understand that. And when it's like I said, we can't stop their meetings from happening. But we have to understand what they're trying to do, and we just have to make sure that we handle that. And I'm sure that there's another secret meeting forming that they're going to meet in another way and call themselves something else because they can't. This has been blown for them. Of course, they're going to keep it going for a while, and they'll try and use it as a tool. Remember, they're just going to adapt and try and use this as a tool to feed us information now, right? So we have to be aware of that. All right. They're not going to just give up. It's just impossible. They'll never admit it, but with all the proof around, they'll still just repeat their lines. They don't know anything other than to follow their programming. They're programmed too. That's why they try to program us. Okay, question. Dan, will you please put the links to the videos you're listening to where here in the box or chat? Much appreciated. I will post those in the Where We Go One, We Go All.love Telegram group. So I will, I'm going to try to do that actually before I actually do each broadcast, but today I'll do it after. And I will try to put it in the description below as well, but that sometimes gets, I have the intention to go back and do it, and then I push it off and then I end up not doing it. So I'm trying to get into the habit of doing certain things. So I know I'm going to post it there before, but today it's going to be after in the Where We Go One We Go All.love Telegram group. And then it also will be referenced on the website, Where We Go One We Go All.love, which is wwg1wga.love. I love that domain extension .love. Let's see. Okay. Dan, question. The idea is not to use the old wheel system, ball structure, but to create a new idea structure that will not promote service to self or give funds to the old system, is it not? Yes, but at the same time, you can build your own economy, like in the Kringle Society. That means you have a medium of exchange, and people are welcome to use it. We have a system at which the value is represented as a price daily, and you're free to exchange. This is a hard road, right? And it's happening, but is it going to take another 5 years to get to the point where it's more easy to exchange? Yeah, but that's okay. That's being done. Please participate. Join me, and I'll be your sponsor in it, and we can even do a cash flow business with it if you like to do that. Now, in regards to the existing system, which I'm also trying to work with, is because we just can't flip a switch and turn off the world. Not going to happen. There would be not just chaos. Billion people would die. And it would, because everything is so integrated. You just can't turn off. You have to build alongside it. And you have to have the bridges to make it work. So, for example, in the Kringle Society, the bridge is actually Bitcoin, which is more and more adopted. So the bridge to get to existing financial system where you need to cash out and take cash into an ATM card, you could do it with Bitcoin. But you have to convert TBC into Bitcoin, and then you have to basically do that by selling some of your TBC to someone who wants some of the TBC, and you have it. You can do it as for part of a product. You can buy a car, or whatever. You negotiate that. So it's not that we don't want a completely new system. We do. We want to build it. We want abundance-based models, but we have to get there. If Kim was able to flip the switch and send the money into our projects, then we have a different system that we need to build right then and there, right? But if that's like another week away or a month away, whenever it happens, then we start from that point. But until we have that, we have to have another kind of bridge. The bridge to through the projects, that's wonderful. But we have to build. We can't just sit and wait and not have anything happen anymore. We can't wait for the Bilderbergers to decide what they want to do. So anyway, that's the answer. We keep going. All right. Okay. Here's a question. The other day, Thomas posted, "Who owns the assets and gave the last warning to Anu?" So what does that mean? Lord Anu still owns us? No, it means that Kim is the one that warned Anu. I think that's what it means. I might be off, but in essence, Anu was, I guess, making claims in the Galactic Council, something like that. I don't really get all that too much. I don't have any direct information about what happens there. I don't know who's in the Galactic Council. I don't know what the overall influence is. I don't know the details. I kind of heard it. I understand that that Kim is representing Earth to this council. They've accepted her, Commander-in-Chief of Earth, or whatever that title is. But Anu still wants to lay claim, and Kim is saying no. Something along those lines. All right, question. Thomas says X-22 is disinfo. I agree. Did you not get the memo? Well, you know what? I don't quite agree with that. I get a lot of good information from X-22. I do not know why he would say it's disinfo. I listen to it daily. I also listen to In Pursuit of Truth, IPOT, daily. So I can't say one way or another. But, you know, I don't have to agree with Thomas, and I don't have to agree with Tank all the time. We can disagree on certain things. And I could be wrong about X-22. You know, there's a long battle for me. I used to watch Alex Jones here and there. I used to watch Glenn Beck, and each one were accusing each other of being, you know, a sleeper cell, you know, a sleeper agent, you know, but both had good information. I listened to both sides and I tried to get through it. So the idea of controlled opposition is Alex Jones with controlled opposition. Well, QAnon has basically laid that out and said, you know, be careful who you follow. So, you know, always listen to all the information, and I'm finding good information coming out, and I try and analyze it, you know, and I'm willing to adapt. If I find that I've been wrong about something, I'm very happy to let it go immediately. Like the GCR. Okay. That's it. So Tank said that Anu or Madhu gave authority to Kim to be trustee. My understanding might be off from that. I don't think it was a matter that they gave the authority. It by default went to her because of her DNA. They were losing control as a grand plan, right? I don't understand the mechanics behind this, but they had to not be in any way be in control in order for humanity to choose. They had to have everything in order to choose to, again, sign up and go with the program of Anu. That's my understanding. Of course, I could be wrong, but I think that's not about Anu or Marduk giving authority to Kim, but Marduk was saying, okay, well, now we know who it is. It's Kim. So let's bring her into the fold and have her start working for us while we're still in control. And then when she gets control, we'll just keep having her do things for us like we're still in control. We'll just pretend that we're the ones that get to say what's going to do. And if she just keeps listening to us, all the well and good. But she didn't. She basically said, well, I'm the one in control now. Why are you giving me orders? Right? And they didn't like that. And I guess also that Marduk wanted to kind of like set her up for marrying him, and then that would be another way to basically pull her into another sign up, into agreement to marry into the Anunnaki. So that would have been another kind of monarchy coming down the line, right? Another form of control. But it didn't happen. It went a different way. Okay, so now Ostring is saying Marduk knew that Kim had the DNA of 99.8% mitochondrial Eve, so Earth, fifth element, chose Kim and Tui. Yes, I guess along the line of what I was just talking about. We're kind of off topic here of the Bilderberg, but that's okay. I am going to definitely end this. I actually am setting an end time, any time between 10 o'clock and 10:15. So if there's no more questions, TQ means thank you. So if there's no more questions, I saw another Q. That's why I was looking. Caught my eye. I will go ahead and end this question. One last question at the very bottom from Mark Howard. Question: Kim will be the mitochondrial Eve. How can that be proven? Well, how do you prove that? Would you have to have Eve and do a genetic test? I don't know. Is it provable, or is it just because she ended up being the one that Marduk brought into the fold 2 years before she became, the one, right? At her 40th birthday, she's now clicked into place, and she's now the one that has control over the asset, and they don't anymore. But they still kept giving her orders. So was this an automated AI type of thing? I don't know. What was the controlling factors? Was there a contract that was in the contract, in the agreement? Who signed the agreement? I have none of this information. But when we start talking about proving things, how can you prove that Kim moved money into the U.S. government, into the U.S. Treasury 3 times last year, and at least once this year that I know of, that I was able to ask about from people that were able to look at certain things, and I get some positive information back. Is this absolute proof? No, it's not absolute proof. It's just, what my contacts were able to let me know about. So, okay, great. It's enough coinciding with the events that I was listening to Thomas. I just make a judgment. I do know that the GCR is a lie, and that there's something nefarious behind it. That was my feeling sort of all along. I was always keeping one eye on who's behind the curtain. I kept waiting, and so when is that other shoe going to drop? But in this particular game of tomorrow game, that other shoe never drops. But you're always waiting. All right. Okay. Arad says, we are so determined to get them out of the way so much that we can even withhold the release of any resource that will benefit at least one of them for 1,000 more years to come. They just have to be out of the way. There we go. So yeah, let's get them out of the way by building our own. But realize that we have to build alongside the existing system, and we need to have bridges so people can cross over to the new system. And that's what we need to focus on. All right, I think that's it for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. We will be back in about 25 minutes with Tank and I on the Dank Live show. Again, please subscribe. Please give thumbs up. Positive comments only. No negative feedback is necessary. Keep it to yourself. And also participate on Where We Go One. We go all.love, WWG1, WGA.LOVE. The link is down below in the description. And until another 20 minutes from now, we'll see you.